All right, welcome in. Brian Edwards, majorwager.com. Let's get you caught up with everything in the UFC. Outstanding card 2 nights ago, Saturday, as we're coming to you on Monday, June 10th. Two really good title fights, a lot of good storylines. Chicago, the United Center, was popping Saturday for good reason. Let's start with the main event. Henry the Messenger Cejudo wins the vacated 135-pound bantamweight title, vacated by TJ Dillashaw, popped for EPO, the drug cyclist used and Lance Armstrong got in trouble for. Popped by USADA, suspended 2 years. After he'd been popped by Henry Cejudo, Dillashaw had tried to go down to 125 pounds and become the double champ. Cejudo knocked him out in 33 seconds. And then he went up to try to become the double champ, taking on Marlon Moraes, who came into the fight on a tear. He had won 4 fights in a row, 3 of them by first-round finishes. First-round finishes are not very common in the 135-pound division, certainly when you compare it to the divisions with obviously light heavyweight, et cetera. So there were rumors all week that Cejudo had a training camp injury. Turns out those rumors were true, but we did not know till after the fight. He had a badly sprained ankle. It was purple. It was swollen. And, I mean, he had to do everything post-fight. He was in a wheelchair. Now, part of that was he was eating some serious shin sandwiches from Marlon Moraes, who probably has the best kicks we've ever seen out of a 135-pounder. So Moraes gets off to a flying start, man. He is just peppering Cejudo with stinging left kicks to both legs, outside, inside, and landing strikes. I mean, it was all Moraes in round 1. I had taken Moraes, so I was all fired up. It was more the same the first 2 minutes of the second round. And then Cejudo, who was basically just playing defense that first 7 minutes, especially with his legs, trying to avoid those kicks. He had switched stances. He finally just bit down on his mouthpiece and was like, oh, by the way, he's an Olympic wrestler, won the gold medal in freestyle wrestling in his weight class at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. But he had tried 2 takedowns and had been stuffed, and he probably could not get, with that bad ankle, he just realized he was going to have to win it on the feet, and who would have thought he would have done it that way? The narrative, certainly from myself and most other scribes across the country, was that if Cejudo wins this fight, he implements his world-class wrestling. He wears Moraes out, takes him to the later rounds, and wins the decision. Not so much. That's the beauty of this sport. So around mid-second round, he just starts biting down on his mouthpiece. It's like, all right, I will get in firefights with you. I will momentarily phone booth fight with you. And he shifted the momentum completely. And you just could see Moraes was just not having as much pop on his kicks. He was tiring. I think he thought he was going to get the finish late first round or early second. Kind of tired himself out. So we go to the third, and this was the most telling point of the fight. Cejudo lands a real nice stiff jab. It backs Moraes up, and he looks at the ref, and the ref, unfortunately, it's so hard to officiate mixed martial arts. The ref unfortunately called time. He thought Moraes was complaining of an eye poke, and he was, but he was not right. He had just gotten popped by a stiff jab. And when they showed the replays, and you saw it was just a stiff jab, and yet Moraes is looking to the ref for help, you knew he was in trouble at that point. Shortly thereafter, Cejudo gets him in a sick Muay Thai clinch, and he must have landed 10 Ds, most to the face, head, several to the body. He started working a standing choke, got him worked against the cage, and then he dropped down and tried to spin on the choke. He lost it, but he assumed top position, and then it was just ground and pound, power elbows, ground and pound treatment, elbows, hammer fist, until the referee intervened, and Henry Cejudo became a double champion in the UFC says he's willing to go up to 145. Called out Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber, who has been in retirement but is coming back here soon. He's got a fight booked in Sacramento. I believe that's in either late June or July. But anywho, so he's got 2 belts to defend. He claims he wants to go up to 145. But man, how can you doubt this guy? He did all that on a sprained ankle, and kudos to him. Plus 135 underdog ticket cash, took my money. Co-main event, Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko, the 125-pound women's champion, defended her title for the second time, 26 seconds into round 2. She had been peppering Ai with body kicks, powerful shots to the body in the first round, and got her with another one early second, and they were starting to take their toll. And so when Valentina, was going for a kick, I went to protect the body, left the head exposed. Just a vicious head kick KO. Scary scene. I was out cold for several minutes. They would not put the camera on her, but she is okay. She came to eventually, and I saw she posted something on social media. She's fine. I'm sure she got a headache and a concussion, but she'll be fine. Shevchenko was an enormous favorite, around like minus 1,200. Now, there were prop bets at plus money for Shevchenko, and hopefully some of you got a little bit of that. Inside the distance, she was a small plus, minus 105 to win by KO, plus 300, and to win in round 1. Oh, I'm sorry. She won round 2. I need to go fix that. I'm not sure what she was in round 2. Never mind. I wrote that wrong in my article. Anyhow, we move on. The people's main event, Tony Ferguson and Donald Cerrone, was everything we expected and hoped for, except for the finish. We had 10 beautiful minutes, 2 rounds of pure, clean fun. Unfortunately, late in the second round, you saw a lot of swelling going on in Cowboy's right eye, and turns out it was a broken orbital bone. But he was fine. He was ready. He was stood up from the stool. He was ready to go round 3, and then he made the cardinal mistake. Anytime you've got like a broken nose or any kind of heavy swelling when you're a fighter, the worst thing, or the only thing you don't do, your cardinal sin, is to blow your nose. And he did that, and right when he did it, you just saw the swelling expand. His eye was completely shut. He did notify the ref. I think he was saying he wanted to blow it down. I don't know what he was really describing, what he was requesting, but the doctor came in, waved it off. Ferguson wins. He was only minus 150 most of the week. He ballooned up to minus 200, even like minus 230, 240 at some books. Now, he had landed a punch. There's no bad blood between these guys. They got along great during fight week, got along after the fight. There was no bad blood whatsoever between these guys. But as they were going at it at the end of the round, the bell sounded, and Tony fired back another. I mean, it seemed like it was about 2 seconds after the bell, and it landed flush. Cowboy had dropped his hands. I mean, it landed hard shot. Not as if they'd been landing lots of hard shots on each other already. But anywho, for a moment there, and I had bet on Cowboy, I was hoping they were going to call it a no contest. And I had scored the first round for Cerrone, the second round for Ferguson. So even if they went, the scorecards would have been a draw, but the ref ruled that it was a TKO, doctor stoppage. And so Ferguson wins 12 in a row for El Kui. And now he should, although you never know with Dana and Connor, Tony should undoubtedly get the shot at the winner of Dustin and Habib Nurmagomedov, the champ, the interim champ, and Dustin Lafayette, Louisiana's finest, other than Daniel Cormier, perhaps. But it should be Tony against the winner of Habib and Dustin. That's going down in Abu Dhabi, September 7th, UFC 242 main event. Also on the main card, Peter Yan beat Jimmy Rivera in he was a heavy favorite, Yan was, It was a hotly contested fight, 29-28, twice 30-27. I don't know who the hell had that 30-27. I thought Peter Yan probably got it 29-28. Heavyweights, Blagoy Ivanov and Tai Tuivasa. Ivanov won a unanimous decision. It was a rough night for me, man. I had the under. That was an L. However, my biggest bet, and I promoted it as such, my favorite, bantamweight Aljamain Sterling beats Pedro Munoz, cruised 30-27 across. I mean, I'll give Munoz credit. He lost every round. He kept coming forward, man. But Sterling, career best performance. His striking has never looked so good. And, you know, I mean, his wrestling is his base. And he's probably in line to get the shot at Cejudo for the 135-pound belt. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, man, a third loss in a row. She got dusted by Alexa Grasso. Props to Alexa. Great performance by her, 30-27 across. The bully Ricardo Lamas, veteran featherweight, got beaten by the up-and-comer Calvin Kattar. First round KO. Kattar was a favorite in the minus 160, 170 range. Eddie Wineland, Caitlin Chukagan, also winners on the early prelims on Fight Pass, as was Darren Stewart. And so that gets you caught up on UFC 238. But before I finish this preview or this video, I want to let you know that UFC Greenville in 2 weeks, June 22nd. And I love me some Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, facing off against Renato Moicano. And I have no clue how the Korean Zombie is an underdog, period, much less a lucrative underdog. I'm already on it for $200. I got it at plus 170. I see 5 Dimes right now has it plus 185. If you like betting dogs, even if you don't like the UFC, go bet this one. Trust me, the Korean Zombie will get back in the win column after the most heartbreaking defeat I've ever seen in UFC history. He had dominated Yair Rodriguez the whole fight, and in round 5 with 1 second left, TKZ, the Korean Zombie, he tries to finish fights. He knew he won. He could have just sat back and let the bell run out. No, he was attacking, trying to get the finish, and Yair Rodriguez had this just crazy bent down and did some crazy angle with an upward elbow that caught Korean Zombie on the nose with 1 second left and knocked him out cold. And I had Korean Zombie that night. That's definitely the biggest heartbreaker UFC bet in my life. But however, you know what? When I saw the replays, I really didn't even mind losing that money. I mean, I didn't enjoy it, let's be clear. But it was just such an unbelievable, nasty, awesome finish from Yair Rodriguez. Sometimes you just got to tip the cap. And so I did that to all the guys and gals who took my money at UFC 238. Thank goodness for my man Aljamain Sterling preventing it from being a complete bloodbath. But hey, get on the Korean Zombie next week. Trust me, Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. You are caught up with all things UFC. Over and out.